So Sam, there's so much to talk about, and we're surrounded by all of this wonderful black and white photography, and in the back is your darkroom. And so I want to just start with asking you, how did you start with photography? Where did that come from for you?
Yeah, I started when I was really, really small, like 7, 8 years old. I got a chemistry kit that had darkroom chemicals, and so I took pictures and then went into the bathroom and made all the solutions and put the film in and came out with nothing at all. And I thought, well, this is not my strong point. But then years and years later, Polaroid came out. And that was really kind of fun. And I started taking sometimes several images of the same thing with Polaroids, and found you could hold them up together and look at them, and if you looked at them just right, you'd see the two images superimposing themselves, and then it would suddenly be 3D.
Just like, what is that, that old...
like a stereopticon,
yeah.
Only with your own eyes.
Wow.
And that was fun. And then years and years later, I was in the Army as a draftee in between wars, and bought a Leica camera, and really enjoyed using that. And then just had to make a living and got into different things. But eventually, I thought I really want to go back to photography. And I changed jobs and bought a Hasselblad, which I have here on the workbench.
That's what you shoot with now still?
Yeah, I bought that in the 1960s, I guess. I'm still using the same camera.
Wow, and always back black and white, or do you ever work in color?
I tried doing color as a kind of a wildlife photographer, and I got to developing and changing the color, just working with color, but I never really liked it. I always liked black and white better for some reason.
So
I don't know why. But
you don't know why? What's the first thing you think of when you think of what it is that you like about black and white?
Maybe it leaves more to the imagination. I mean, there's more room for imagination. Or just the colors never looked really, really right. And especially with digital color photography now. I mean, the colors always look so just strange,
right,
and intense, and
right,
oversaturated and oversharpened. But anyway, I just really love the gradations of grays and the gradations of light and the interplay between the two. And working in the darkroom, once you make the negative, then working in the darkroom, you're completely free to experiment because you always have the negative to start with. And if you don't like what you're doing, you just throw it away and start again.
And so what is it that you're looking for in the developing process? So are you playing with saturation there with black and white, and you're playing with that sharpness?
Yeah, I think when you see something you want to make a picture of, and then you frame it, get the idea of what you want to include, and you frame it in the camera, then you think about, well, what do you want it to look, what is it about? I mean, I guess you actually don't go through this ratiocination process while you're doing it. You just look and think, well, there's a little too much contrast, or whatever it is. And then you write your notes after you make the photograph, how you're going to treat this in the darkroom, and then you can play with the developing chemistry to, if you need to change anything about the tonal contrast or whatever in the photograph.
So where do you find the real magic for you is? Is it in the shooting or is it in the darkroom?
I love that question. I think the magic for me is you've made a negative, you see it as you're exposing the paper for the print, you put it in the chemistry, and then when it's finished in the chemistry and you take it out and you wash it, turn it over, wash it and look at it, if sometimes you look at it and you think, wow, and that's the wonderful moment for me.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't happen reliably, but when it does, you know, I love it.
I suppose if it happened reliably, it wouldn't feel like magic anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And when you're choosing your subject, so most of your work, it seems, is landscape, and there's some still life too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what is it you're looking for in the landscape that makes you decide this is the shot?
Oh, maybe a sense of spareness, maybe. I mean, one thing I love about the landscape in the Southwest is there's not too much to see, and so it's much easier, or it just appeals to me more to have not very much to look at in the landscape. And one other thing I've started experimenting with and have done a lot of is make a series of images, and in a kind of work that photographic purists would hate, I can take each image and make it, as I mount the prints, I can make a series of them. There are quite a few in here of, you know, different views of the same thing, and you don't need to make them all, you know, just the same. You can do a smaller one here, a larger one there, a larger one there, whatever. And I think that's a lot of fun.
No, and why would a purist have a hard time with that?
I think there's a school, or at least used to be a school of photography that said there shouldn't be anything in the frame that you don't want to see in the final print. And I remember once a young man came into the studio tour and looked around and said, "Oh, you know, this is you don't print the full frame necessarily, and you know that's just wrong." And he was quite adamant about it.
Wow.
Well, okay.
Wow.
So well, as you look around here, you can see like this one here is a full frame because I printed the border around the negative, so you know you can tell it's the full frame. But that one over there, the church steeple, is definitely not the full frame.
Right.
So
Right. It seems like there's a relationship between the appeal of black and white and the appeal of the spare landscape for you. That both leave a lot to imagination.
yeah,
And I was looking around and I saw a lot of the great sand dunes up in Colorado. And those, it feels like you move into abstraction. Is that your intention?
yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, beautiful. And you spend part of the year in Canada, in Nova Scotia, is that
That's right.
Do you shoot up there too, or do you stay with just the West?
I did some for the fun of it, but not in the kind of thing I do here. I mean, it's pictures of kids or seagulls, or I mean, there's one of a seagull up there, but.
So what have you done with that piece that makes it pixelated? There's another work too that's quite pixelated looking, a large piece that's hanging in the other room.
Early in experimenting with photography, I made really huge prints. I have some of them out in the garage still, mounted on flush doors. I mean, really big things. But I got, what do you call it? Right now I can't think of the name of the film that's either black or white. You probably remember the term. But
It's film that's either black or white, I don't
there's
understand.
no contrast to it. The image comes out as either black or white.
Oh, I don't know the word. Yeah.
Maybe I can think of it eventually. But anyway, I started using that film, and I take a regular image, like that seagull, and magnify it on the whatever the kind of film is. It's either black or white, and then make a contact print of that and magnify it again. And I go through several iterations of separating the gray into either black or white. So by the time you got through maybe 4 different iterations of this thing, you come out with either black, well, you come out with black grain or nothing. And that one I made into, I think it was like a 4 foot by 4 foot
Right.
image. That was one of those wow ones.
Wow.
But I needed to do that. I needed I had a bigger dark room, and I made huge developing tanks, and it was fun, but also it was not only a pain in the butt, but also it involved inhaling chemistry as you were rolling these huge sheets of paper in and out of chemistry, and so I just gave that up after a while.
You'd inhaled enough.
Yeah.
Okay. And who has influenced you? Do you have any heroes in photography?
Not so much as photographers, because I've never really studied photography. I've just done it. But when I was a little boy, a neighbor down the road, Connie Putnam, was a really wonderful photographer. And when I first started doing photography, I was talking to her, and she said, well, I guess I was in my 20s maybe, and she said, well, bring a negative down to my dark room and we'll work on it together. And so I did, and I think she would be my hero. She was a wonderful woman and well known as a photographer under her name Consuelo Canaga.
So Connie Putnam was actually Consuelo?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
that was her real name, but she married Wally Putnam and became Connie Putnam.
And do you see her work in your work? Like, what was her work like?
Oh, just gorgeous. But no, she didn't do what I do. So, I don't really see a connection other than her real reverence for making the best photograph, the best print that you possibly can.
So her passion impacted you.
Yeah. And sadly, she was much more hands-on, literally, than me, because she believed in actually watching the print develop, and then with her bare hands rubbing parts of it under the developer to increase the density in certain spots. And so eventually she had cancer and died.
Wow, right.
I feel really sad about that.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What is your process like in the initial shooting? Do you go to destinations specifically to shoot? Do you hike with your camera? How does it happen for you?
Just as you
Both.
drive around, or you hear about a place. Drive around telling yourself, don't just look around, look, try to see something that, you wouldn't see just kind of looking. And then when you're lucky enough to do that, then you stop and get out your camera and tripod. And, there's that one picture right there of an old cottonwood tree in near San Antonio, Colorado. Yeah. And that one, I was driving by on my way to go skiing one year and saw that. Didn't have a camera, and I thought, okay, I've got to remember that and come back. And I think the next year, or maybe even 2 years later, I was going by, and I specifically took my camera, to take that picture. So that was one where I knew my destination.
Wow. So 2 years later, you came back in a different season, or in the same season? Like, were you looking for that bare tree?
I was looking for that tree and snow on the ground,
Uh-huh.
and I don't remember whether it was, early winter or late winter or whatever. And luckily, the tree was still there.
Mm. If it had just been a stump, if it had been cut down, would you still have taken it? Like, had that tree become such a destination that you'd have taken it?
I don't think so.
You don't think so, right?
And there was, another cottonwood in a canyon near Moab,
Mm-hmm.
Utah, and I'd taken a picture of that tree in the fall, and then came back several years later. I really liked that photograph, and I came back several years later, and the tree was still there, and I took another picture at a different season, and that really pleased me. And then I went back again a few years later, and there had been a flood in the canyon, and the tree wasn't there anymore.
Mm. It must sort of change your relationship to time in a way.
Well, as we grow older, that's inevitable.
Yeah, but you've captured that moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you've watched that moment pass.
But I didn't take the picture of the tree used to be there, and now it's rubble.
And now it's rubble, right? Right. And what about living in Galisteo? So you live, just looking through your door right now, and that in itself, right, it's framed by your door frame, and it's absolutely gorgeous, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're living amongst an absolute infinite number of potential photographs.
Mm-hmm.
What is that like for you? Do you go out there and photograph on a regular basis? What is living in Galisteo like as a photographer?
Well, Dennison, I think from making trips out to this part of the country, New Mexico, Utah, southern Colorado, Nevada, I always just adored basin and range country. And when my wife Dorothy Victor got a job working for the state government here, we moved to Santa Fe, and we were looking for a place outside of the city to live, because I really don't like living in cities. And we saw Galisteo, the basin, and the ranges around. Whoa, it's possible to live in a basin and range scenario. So luckily, it's wonderful for me to have kind of arrived at my dream location.
And so have you taken just hundreds of photographs of Galisteo? Thousands?
Quite a few, but there are a few subjects I come back to. There's an old line camp on the Anaya Ranch Road, and over the years I've taken many pictures of that as it's gradually disintegrating, and that's about it for the Galisteo Basin, probably, is that. But there are pictures like this one right here that was just taken right out to our kitchen door.
Right. And I've seen a number of the Ortiz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As well as there was a shot that I found so beautiful, where it was just the moon and the sky, and in a way you could have been anywhere, excepting that you couldn't. There's something about it that was Galisteo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's one picture over there. There's the moon with a little bit of cloud covering it.
Uh-huh.
And that was kind of fun, because I saw the moon and the cloud, from inside this room, and thought, oh wow, that would make a good picture. But by the time I put film in the camera, got out the tripod, put the camera on the tripod, got ready, the cloud was approaching the moon, and I was fumbling around trying to get everything ready, And by the time I was set, the cloud had just begun to cover the moon. And I thought, oh, yeah. I thought, well, I've done it, I'll take the picture anyway. And I turned out to just love it.
Oh, that's lovely.
Just the moon just slightly obscured by the cloud. It's almost a kind of, as you said, an abstraction, which is really fun, I think. For me.
And so then that begs the question: do you ever set up and wait?
Oh God!
And one of the things I'm thinking of is you said that you did some wildlife photography, right? And you must know Teo and Jamie. And I remember talking to Teo, and he's talking about waiting sometimes for weeks for a shot.
Yeah.
Is that part of your process at all?
Oh God! Is it ever? I mean, it's really frustrating. I'm going to, part of the life, I guess. But yeah, you get to some place, and it takes a while to get set up, even with the relatively manageable camera that I use. And there's so many times you just get everything right, and then the cloud comes over the sun, and the light changes, or the wind comes up, or something happens, and you go, oh well, it'll get better after a little bit, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait. And then all of a sudden the light gets right again, and you're all ready to take a picture, and the clouds come. So yeah, you spend a lot of time, and finally say, oh well, another day, try again.
Wow. And are you looking for a shot? Like, do you just take a single shot at that moment, or you take shot after shot? I mean, I know, of course, with digital, it's thousands of throwaway shots, right? Is there? How does that work in your process?
Yeah, that's a really good procedural question. I always take 3. I start, in black and white, or any kind of photography. You set your aperture and shutter speed. And so the first frame I take is always what I think is the appropriate combination of shutter speed and aperture. Then I do one that's one step denser, and another one that's one step thinner for the negative. And then I develop the film for the first shot. I use 120 film, which has 12 frames on a roll. And so I can get 4 different subjects on one roll of film. But I was, developed for what I think is the optimum aperture. But then if that's not right, I've got one on each side to play with, or if there's some kind of imperfection in the film, or when you're winding it on the reel, sometimes the film crinkles and then you get a little half-moon imperfection in the negative and you can't use it. So, there's always a backup.
Right, that's really interesting. And you've been using the same camera for how many years?
Mid-60s to the 60 years.
Wow. Okay, so what is it about that camera that you love then?
Oh, it's the camera I got, I guess. I know how to use it, and it's a wonderful I can show it to you. It's a wonderful camera. And it's Swedish made and very durable. And it comes in 3 parts. There's the lens, and there's the camera body, and then there's the back that holds the film. And makes film in the 2¼ inch image negative size. So it weighs, I don't know, 3 or 4 pounds maybe. It's easy to manage. And I always use it on a tripod, or almost always use it on a tripod. But it's a single lens reflex, so it's not like a view camera where the image is on a ground glass upside down and backwards and you have to put the cloth over your head. And you can look through the viewfinder and see the image. I mean, it's just a handy, manageable, durable mostly durable camera. It's been back to the factory many, many times because it gets carried around and bounced around and out in bad weather kind of thing. But
Right.
I really like it, and I've never wanted to change, except I tried taking digital images, never with a really fancy camera. But I'm not crazy about the quality of digital images.
Mm-hmm.
I just prefer the look of
Mm-hmm.
film.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm stuck with film and the camera, despite ever diminishing resources in terms of chemistry and paper and stuff.
Right. Harder and harder to get.
Yeah, and more and more and more expensive.
Right. Right. So you mentioned it's been out in a lot of bad weather. What's you must have stories of shooting stories, right? You must have stories of extreme conditions out there sometimes.
Oh no, I'm much
No?
much too lazy for that.
All right.
Now, if I'd stuck with wildlife photography, like Jamie and Theo, yeah, I'm sure they have lots of extreme weather or extreme animal interactions. But if the weather gets too bad, I just go back to the truck.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
There was one place in Utah, I think there's a picture somewhere around. It was a big kind of a mud salt flat, very dry.
Uh-huh.
And I saw there was a storm coming and a picture I really wanted to make. And so I walked out maybe, 400 or 500 yards and set up the camera and then took a few images, and the rain and the wind suddenly came. And so I packed up the camera and turned around and started back, but in the composition of the ground was, it absorbed water but then became really, really sticky. So every step you took, you'd have a little more stuff on your feet.
Uh-huh.
And so, at one point I thought, good Lord, am I ever going to get out of here? Am I going to just be stuck until the sun comes out? But
Wow. Right. Right. Do you have a favorite photograph? Is there anything that you feel like, that I got it there, or is it again and again and again, and each one has its own beauty?
certainly in photographs of people, I have some really favorite photographs, but in the landscape, I mean, yeah, I mean, there are certain ones like that one of the Galisteo Basin I just love. But there are a lot of ones that I like. And, I mean, some of them I look at and think, that's nice, and others I look at and think, I really like that. But no, other than that, I just really enjoy doing what I'm doing. If it works out well, that's good.
Is there something that you still want to do with photography that you haven't done yet, or is it a matter of just to keep it engaging with this?
I don't know. I mean, I just turned 91 last week.
Wow.
So I don't have, maybe the drive to, I want to go someplace new and do something.
Right.
I just enjoy doing what I'm doing, but it's maybe not so much, passion's the wrong word, but I mean, it's an interest, but a more mellow interest, maybe.
Mm-hmm. But Jim Sloan says you're still skiing. Is that true?
Not like I could 50 years ago, but yeah, I still love it.
skiing. Okay, great.